Have you ever been in a situation where your manager told you that you are in their succession plan, and once they move on, you are very likely to get the job? Nothing is going to be put in writing at this moment, because a premature announcement can surprise other potential candidates who are also targeting this position, and it could trigger others to lose their motivation or even leave the company. And the biggest reason is if this announcement comes out too early, it could make your manager look like a lame duck. This causes confusions about who is really in charge, you or your manager. Your understanding is that if you just continue to do a great job, everything will work out and the transition will be smooth. You now leave the meeting feeling wonderful. You believe that your succession is only a matter of time. But here's the reality. I'm often so amazed by the number of future VPs, GMs, or CXOs who have had conversations like this but didn't end up getting the position. Quite often, there are at least 3 different successors in the succession plan. All of them believe they have got the confirmation from their manager. They all thought they already had the job. In most cases, this is a matter of miscommunication. Managers want to be positive and motivate their high potential team members. Who wouldn't like to be the messenger who delivers these positive and encouraging messages? But these managers truly believe that they have not yet made any promises. And on the other hand, potential successors hear what they want to hear, and they genuinely believe that their appointment is a done deal. The fact is, no succession is ever a sure thing, even if you have the support of your manager. The last leg of the journey to an executive role is full of unexpected challenges, and many so-called potential successors find themselves suddenly knocked out of the running or even out of the company altogether. And in this video, I want to share with you what went wrong and how you can fix it. In case you're new here, I'm Tiffany, former Vice President of Marketing and Communication at 2 of the largest Swedish companies by market cap. On this channel, we talk about everything to help middle management get senior executive positions. Subscribe if you want more content on this topic. Now let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that succession plan is not a rational process. These decisions are made by humans, including the CEO of your organization, the president of your business unit. They are human beings too. In reality, succession decisions are just as likely to be influenced by their gut feeling as they are by your performance, track records, and experience. In reality, there are 6 key stakeholders you need to think of. Your manager, the manager of the position you want. They could be the board of directors as well, your future peers, your current peers, your direct reports, and external business partners. And I'll walk you through one by one. First, your manager, without a doubt, is important. They represent you in all the discussions behind closed doors with higher level stakeholders about your performance and your ranking during the talent review process. They are also the ones who decide the list of names in their succession plan. Let me share a case here with you. I once worked with the SVP of technology, and one of his successors was the VP of advanced engineering. He talked a little too openly about what the company would be like when I am in charge. So what happened next? He was completely eliminated from the running because the SVP of technology thought he was being too arrogant and acting as if he already had the job before even he was appointed. As an executive successor, you have to strike a balance between projecting your readiness and maintaining your loyalty and support for the current person in the job. There's a fine line between being an assertive leader and an arrogant candidate. Now let me share another case with you. This is a case about the region American president. He is currently in the job and he wants to promote one of his successors. But the region American president cannot let go and leave the position, especially because he himself hasn't even been promoted to the next role. It can be really tricky with an expat contract because once the 5 years are up, you're either moving to the next position or you lose the expat condition, which could be a huge downgrade in lifestyle and compensation. But the successor is very eager to get the job, so she constantly talks about taking over the region American president's position, even though the president hasn't even got their next assignment yet. And this makes it emotionally very difficult for the region American president. Not only does he need to face his own fear of walking away from the power status influence international school for his kids, fully paid home allowance, and nice compensation package of these top positions, but he also felt really anxious because it's uncertain. It's uncertain for their future growth, their family. Where are they going to live next? What's more is the successor's performance can be seen as a reflection of the current region American's president. Because if the successor fails, then the president has to deal with the bad judgment of recommending a poor replacement. But on the other hand, if the successor improved the region's performance, then the leader might get embarrassed by comments like, oh, our region has recently done so much better since you left. So the region American president can come off as a loser either way. But also he needs to handle his own anxiety because there's an uncertainty about his future growth. The family, where are they going to live next? The second stakeholder is the manager of the position you want. At the end of the day, it's not your manager is going to make that decision. It's the manager of the position you want. So what do I mean? If you want your manager's job, then it's your manager's manager who will make that decision. But if you are targeting a C-suite position, it will be the CEO or the board of directors. Here's a situation that I see so often when a successor is doing everything right, but still doesn't get the job because it was never the intention to promote them in the first place. Now let me share an example with you. This is a member in my coaching program, and he was in a succession plan to become the vice president of research and development, with one condition, that he has to improve his communication skills. And he was told by the SVP that they have no doubt about his technical skills, performance, and delivery on the job were all fine. So he worked with an executive coach that the company assigned to help him with his communication skills. And he really made great progress, and it was even reflected in the company's 360 survey. But when it was time for the promotion, he didn't get the role for the VP of R&D. And this time he was given the feedback that he lack of digitalization expertise and competence. So what really went wrong here? The problem was that the SVP didn't even believe in this candidate would ever succeed, but still needed him in his current position. So to keep him there, the SVP dangled a carrot of a promotion and invested in executive coach for him. When the director actually improved his communication skill, the SVP had to come up with another reason to block his advancement. A lot of successors, they do not understand this, and they don't know how to manage their relationships with their skip-level leaders, which is a huge mistake. I have a video about how to manage skip-level relationships, and you can check it out later. The next stakeholder is the peers in the position you want. It would be incredibly difficult to get the top job without your peers' support. The executives who appoint successors will be watching closely for any indication that your colleagues are not behind you. Now let me share with you an example from my own experience. Before I was appointed as the vice president in Asia, the president of the region clearly told me, if you cannot build a positive relationship with your future peers, especially the president of Region China and the joint venture chairman, you cannot be the next VP. You need their trust and commitment. When I entered the situation, it was quite clear to me that my peers had no interest in supporting me. I remembered every time I went to talk with the Region China president about when we should have the next dealer conference, he would be half joking, after you go back to Europe. For your context, at the time my husband and my kids were living in Belgium. That was our home. Managing peer relationships when you are in a succession plan is incredibly delicate. If you are too assertive, people would think that you are being pushy or arrogant. But if you are not assertive enough, they will think you lack of leadership and self-confidence. Both perceptions are not helpful. Now, by this point, you might be wondering, so how do I get support from my future peers, especially that they don't even like me? This is where I really don't want to give you generic advice like just listen more, have more conversations, or do something nice for them. Sure, these things are important, but they are too generic to take real action. Your situation is different, is unique. Your stakeholders, the context of your organization, the team you want to join all have their own dynamics. How they feel about you is different from what I have experienced. And that's why I wouldn't encourage you to rely on generic advice. Instead, you need a customized plan that works for your specific situation. Now, let me share a quick success story from Valeria. She was recently promoted to an executive role at one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. What made her case special is Valeria had tried to get this promotion 4 times over the past 6 years without any success. I love her story because it's a testament of resilience and perseverance. As soon as she understands how to handle the stakeholders, especially her future peers, she got promoted. And this is what she shared. I'm being promoted to the Executive Director, Global Safety and Environment. This position is part of our organization's leadership team, and my new position will initiate a role of Chief of Staff that drives the strategy and definition and execution. The content of the 1% Academy and the conversation we had were fundamental in my preparation for the hiring process and to be a successful candidate. If you are ready to move from middle management to senior executive positions, I invite you to apply for a free strategy call, and we will evaluate if you are a good fit for our membership program, the 1% Academy. You can apply using the link in the description below. Now let's move to stakeholder number 4, your direct reports. The feedback they provide about your leadership says your ability to lead the team, the function, and the company. Even if just one direct report gives you poor feedback, it can sabotage your chances of getting the top job. Now, let me share a real case with you who was my colleague, the VP of Marketing. And she was a successor for the president role. However, her direct reports give feedback that she wasn't capable of listening and didn't take the time to understand her team. Instead, she showed a clear preference based on who she liked, who she spent most of the time after work. She also judged her team's performance and potential based on how she was promoted, instead of thinking about diversified skills and backgrounds. In most cases, the president and the board are quite distant from the VP's direct reports because they are all spread across different countries. But in this case, the president was in the same building as the VP of Marketing, and he had the exact VP of Marketing position before, so he knew the team really well. He personally hired and promoted many of them. During the coffee machine time, the direct reports didn't hold back when they voiced their dissatisfaction with the VP's leadership. As a result, the VP of Marketing didn't get the president's job, and she had to take a lateral move to another business unit and start all over again as VP of Marketing in a new business unit. Whether the direct reports were right or wrong in an absolute sense is actually irrelevant. What matters most was the president respected these people and their opinions. Well, leadership is not just a popularity game, and sometimes as a successor for the C-suite positions, you will be asked to make tough decisions that the current executive avoids, like reducing budgets, shutting down projects, or even closing down factories and sites, or restructuring and downsizing the team. In one of my vice president positions, during the first 2 weeks, I already knew that I will need to restructure the team and handle some low performers who had been with the company for a decade. And they were very well liked by many colleagues. It was even more complicated because her family members, including her parents, husband, also worked at the company. The first 6 months were incredibly challenging because it was a new organization. I was hired externally, and I knew very little about the culture, the people, the stakeholder dynamics. But at that point, I also understood that everyone who had failed in this position before me had valued popularity over doing what is right for the company. You need to do what's right for the stakeholders, the company, and the customers, even if it means ruffling some feathers, or even worse, making some enemies. On the other hand, leadership is also not about being unpopular. If you want to be the CEO, the president, general manager, the SVP, the VP, you have to demonstrate that you can get the job done while still making people feel good, respected, and building trust with your direct reports. It really is a fine line. You need to balance being liked by your direct reports without coming across as lack of self-confidence. But if you are too direct, it can seem like you only focus on result and you don't care about the people, you don't care about how others feel. This can come across as lack of emotional intelligence and lack of respect. Now, if some of your direct reports have personal relationships with your manager, the president, or the board, they will inevitably talk about you, especially the things they didn't like about you. Don't become defensive or try to stop it, because honestly, you can't stop it. Trying to do so only can make things worse for your relationship with both your direct reports and with your manager. Instead, focusing on improving your own behavior, especially in the areas where your direct reports are not happy with. With many talent management tools and leadership resources available today, you can easily identify what improvement that you need to work on. The next successor is your current peers. So if you got manager's job, then your peers will become your direct reports, and their support is so critical. If the executive team, the CEO, the president, or the board sees that you don't have the backing of your current peers, that it will be a big challenge for you to manage them, their expectations, and the team, it is very unlikely the organization will promote you under these circumstances. Now, let's not forget that most complicated part is that many of your peers, they also believe they have a shot at your manager's job. In some cases, they may do whatever they can to sabotage your chances for that succession. I have seen it very often. For example, they take your manager on a customer visit without you, or when they travel to the global headquarters and they take the chance to speak on the global leadership meetings. Even they take credit of your work as if this is their team's work. If you see this is happening, don't sink to their level. Don't make negative or competitive comments about your peers, even if they're saying things about you behind your back. As Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high. Take the high road. Your reputation and integrity will win people's respect in the end. The next stakeholder is external key partners like customers, suppliers. They can also have influence on your promotion. Some key account customers may have long-term business partnership with your organization, and if they are not on board with working with the next head of the company, they might reevaluate if they want to continue the business relationship. If your company's customers are more transactional, for example, they just buy your products or services with very little interactions with the executive team, they won't have much concern about ongoing relationships, and they are very unlikely to influence your run for a C-suite position. However, if your company has key customers and they generate a substantial amount of revenue, their feedback will be critical in whether you get promoted or not. For example, in industries like banking, financial services, clients in powerful positions, they want to deal directly with the bank's leadership team. They might even have relationships with the board. So it's so important to not ignore the relationships with your company's key business partners. By the way, I want to let you know now you can join my free executive masterclass. In the class, you will get my step-by-step roadmap on how, after being stagnant in director positions for 8 years, I eventually advanced to senior executive positions in Fortune 500 companies. You will also learn the mistake I've made and the wrong things I worked on. It's 1 hour long and it's completely free. So who is this class for? It is specially designed for directors, managers, and team leaders with international career. And you are a high performer. You have been consistently growing your career up until now. In recent years, you find yourself stuck in middle management. So if this sounds like you, I'd love to invite you to join this free executive masterclass. You can check the link below to save your spot. It's completely free. Now you might want to watch this video and learn how to stand out when you apply for an executive role internally. I'll see you there.